Welcome back. House Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi was in Connecticut last Sunday, a stop on her book tour. Her latest book was released in August. It's called The Art of Power, My Story as America's First Woman Speaker of the House. Pelosi and longtime friend, 3rd District Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro sat down with our own Stephanie Simone for an exclusive interview in the brand new TV studio at the University of New Haven. Stephanie joins me this morning. Good morning.
Hi, Eric. It's good to see you. This was a very telling, a very revealing interview. We covered everything from her relationship with President Joe Biden to the election and her family. You open your book with the brutal attack on your husband. So first of all, I just want to ask, how is Paul?
You're nice to ask, Stephanie. He's coming along. He's about 80% there, but you just never want to get hit hard many times on the head. It takes a while to recover.
Of course, of course. How is it now in your home? I mean, you still live in that house, right?
Yeah, we live there. They made they made our home a crime scene, attacked my husband, looking for me.
In your book, you talked about having survivor's guilt. And I wanted to ask you about this because this is something a lot of people struggle with. Yeah. How do you cope with that?
Well, my daughter, who I asked for a consent to run for Congress when she was going to senior year in high school. Our 4 other children were already in college. She said, if I'd known this was ever going to happen, I would have never given you my consent. If I had known it was ever going to happen, I would not have run for Congress. And so the fact that he was looking for Paul, for me, where's Nancy, where's Nancy, echoing what was said January 6th in the Capitol, where's Nancy, looking to do violence on me. It's hard. It's really hard. I mean, imagine.
It's hard.
So in any event, yes, of course I have survivor's guilt, but we're prayerful about it and just want to make sure that other people are not subjected to it, and that it's not made a mockery by those who, I don't even know how to explain their behavior.
Are you concerned about more political violence no matter who wins come November?
Well, we have to erase it as possibilities. The goodness of the American people is what gives me hope.
And there's an hour-by-hour account in this book on what happened January 6th, and you go into great detail about lawmakers calling their loved ones, saying goodbye, and lawmakers with military experience getting ready to defend themselves.
You know, it was a terrible thing, but what was also terrible was after all that happened and highly visible, members crawling on their bellies to go under chairs and seats to get to a door to escape from the violence that was coming for them. And everybody saw that. And yet, when it came time for the vote, overwhelmingly, the Republicans in the House voted not to accept the legitimate results of the election. That was terrible.
I did call my husband. I didn't want to, because it reminded me of 9/11, and I don't know. But I called, and I said, just tell the kids that I'm all right. They're getting us out of here. And they did.
There is not a chapter in this book about the 2024 election, but I do want to talk about it. Many have said that you have been instrumental in Biden dropping out of the race, a historic move. Have you spoken to him?
No, I haven't, but he was instrumental in his decision. This was his decision. As I said all along, it's the president's to decide. He decided in the most selfless, patriotic, courageous way to pass the torch. So we all are deeply grateful to him for that. No, I haven't spoken to him since. No.
Do you think you will?
Well, I hope so. It's sad for me because we've been friends for decades.
Speaking of the 2024 election, there are a lot of independent and conservative voters who don't necessarily love Trump. They're not Trump loyalists, but they are voting for him because they feel like Democrats haven't done a good enough job tackling inflation, tackling immigration.
But I will say this, we have done the best job of tackling inflation than any developed country, and it is down low now, so low that the chairman of the Fed could lower the interest rates. We did a great job, and I think that we have to do better in communicating that.
Biggest issue today is cost of living. Now, when you listen to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, what is the focus of their message. What she said, that she wanted to be the building up of the middle class as the defining goal of her presidency.
I wanted to ask Congresswoman DeLauro, just 2 years ago, Congresswoman Jahana Hayes won by 2,000 votes. Has she reached out to you at all for advice at all?
I see Jahana every single day. She was with us this morning at this event. She is so outstanding as a member of Congress. Her heart is there. She knows why she came to the Congress.
She knows her why.
She knows her why.
And I'm here to say that Johanna is of the highest priority to us from a national standpoint,
Right.
not as a number, but of the quality of her leadership right from the start.
It's clear that the two of you are very close. You've spent decades in Congress together. What is it like when it's just Nancy and Rosa hanging out?
Well, I'm completely in awe of her wardrobe. I just say I'm dazzled by it, and I keep wondering about the closet space it must have. But I love Rosa. I loved her mother.
I love that, Nancy and Rosa just hanging out.
Yeah, you want to know what it's like, right? So during the interview, you heard her say that she's sad she hasn't spoken to President Biden. And President Biden actually went on The View this week. Let's take a listen to how he handled a similar question.
Well, Mr. President, we all agree at this table it's very selfless of you to pass the baton and step aside. There was a perception that perhaps your hand was forced, and some pointed fingers to Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who you have a long relationship with and accomplished many things with. Did you feel that your hand was forced, and what is your relationship with Speaker Pelosi now?
Our relationship is fine. Look, I never fully believed the assertions that somehow there was this overwhelming reluctance of my running again. I didn't sense that.
So he says they're fine. She says she's sad, they haven't spoken. So kind of two different stories here. Where they do agree, though, is that nobody pressured him to drop out of the race.
Well, so much of that conversation, whether it was Nancy Pelosi or someone else pressuring, was related to age. And as we looked at that, you talked about her and Rosa DeLauro have been friends for decades. That's because they both have such a long history in Congress, not exactly young freshman congresswomen themselves.
No, I looked into the average retirement age actually in Connecticut. It's 63 years old. Pelosi is 84. DeLauro is 81. I asked them this question, how long can you keep doing this? And they said, we're going to go until the work is done. That was their answer.
Spoken like a couple of true politicians. Whatever you think about the age, though, an encyclopedia of political knowledge between those two ladies, both Rosa DeLauro here in Connecticut and Nancy Pelosi having been the speaker. Just incredible, the breadth of knowledge they must have.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was interesting to hear them talk, to bounce off of one another. Sometimes it was difficult to get a question in, but I did get them in, and you saw the results.
All right, well, very interesting interview, and we appreciate you being here, Stephanie, to share it with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric.